Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Koepp, a co-founder of From Day One, and this is our forum on corporate values. Welcome to today's webinar. We have an exciting topic for you today, looking at how best to facilitate financial well-being for all employees. But before we get started, I want to share something special we have for today's attendees. One of our monthly virtual conferences is coming up next week on Wednesday, December 15th, and it's titled The Future of Work in an Era of Rapid Change. This is going to be particularly valuable for employers who are anticipating the continued transformation of work and looking to get ahead. Thanks to our partners, including today's sponsor, we have some complimentary VIP tickets available for those who've joined today's webinar. That would be you. I'm putting a link in the chat space right now. I hope you'll check this one out, since the regular price for our conference tickets is $149, and this link will give you a free VIP ticket for the whole day's activities. Today, we'll be exploring the topic, financial well-being solutions for employees of all income levels, hourly workers, executives, and everyone in between. What's this about? Well, experience shows that employees on a wide range of income levels can benefit from a holistic approach to financial benefits and total rewards. Since every worker's financial situation is different, we'll be looking at how companies can put together a suite of benefits that can provide an individualized approach. What do business leaders have to say about the most effective programs, we'll be asking, and the most utilized ones? We'll find out in a moment. Our sponsor today is LearnLux. I'll tell you a bit about them. LearnLux is a leading workplace financial well-being provider that blends fiduciary digital planning with access to one-on-one guidance from certified financial planner professionals. LearnLux's award-winning program equips employees with a financial plan to guide them through decision points like budgeting, paying down debt, electing benefits, understanding equity compensation, starting a family, buying a home, saving for a retirement, and more. It's a lot of decisions to make along life's curve. So now just a few logistical items before we get started. The webinar is being recorded and it'll be available on demand soon after the event. So you can look out for an email in about 24 hours with a link. That email will also give you info on how you can get professional development credits for this session from both the Society of Human Resource Management and the HR Certification Institute. You can look out for a written account of this conversation on our website at fromday1.co. About 45 minutes into the webinar, we'll be having a Q&A session with you, the audience. You can submit your questions anytime they occur to you using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Now I'd like to introduce our MC for today, a masterful moderator, Lydia Dishman. Lydia is a staff editor for Fast Company, who's an expert on topics including technology, leadership, and the workplace. Lydia has also written for CBS Money Watch, for Fortune, Popular Science, and the New York Times, among others. Okay, Lydia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We do have a great discussion teed up. According to a recent survey by PwC, finances are the top cause of employee stress, even above job, health, and relationship. So let's look at the numbers. That survey found that 63% of employees say that their financial stress has increased since the start of the pandemic, and now we're rolling up near 2 years of this. This increase is based on age, as 72% of millennials and 68% of Gen Z reported that they're more stressed than their older counterparts about money. Overall, people are 4 times more likely to find it hard to meet expenses on time each month, and 2 times more likely to have taken a loan or distribution from their retirement accounts. So, even though productivity is at an all-time high, these workers are understandably distracted by worries over money. And enter the employers. So today we're going to talk about what solutions and best practices are being implemented right now, and what leaders can do to ease the strain, because let's face it, happy workers are essential to successful companies. So to discuss this, we've assembled a group of professionals across industries, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and tell us what financial well-being means to them. So Rebecca, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here today and talk to you about financial well-being. I'm Rebecca Liebman. I started LearnLux, a leader in financial well-being, years ago because I had seen so many sides of the financial system. I had lived in Eastern Africa and worked on financial inclusion technology there. I worked at a lab at MIT, and we were studying trends in financial services. And it came up that 90% of Americans would never have access to financial guidance because they don't meet the asset minimum that's been required in the industry for so long. And so ultimately, really started LearnLux to make sure that everyone could have access no matter their asset or income level. And financial stress isn't a new thing. It's been a systematic problem for a long time, but COVID has really magnified everyone's financial insecurities. And now employers really see that it's the biggest burden people are carrying with them to work every single day. And we've seen that financial well-being has really become the #1 benefit being asked for right now. We think about financial well-being as making sure that you feel confident about your situation now and your financial situation in the future, so that you're not distracted from day-to-day things right now.
Thank you. Stephanie, how about you go next?
So my name is Stephanie. I'm Stephanie Mapp, and my experience spans from many years in HR, benefits, payroll functions, both in-source and outsource, by the way. So I've seen it from the service side as well, servicing multiple companies. I'm currently a benefits manager for Aaron's. My team is employee facing, and we're responsible for what I like to call employee service delivery. I'm also a member of the Total Rewards management team, and we're responsible for continuously evaluating and implementing programs for our team members. For me, the last couple of years has highlighted something that many of us already know, mainly that we have to plan for both the known and the unknown, and that financial wellness in particular, although part of an overall wellness offering, really needs to have a focus of its own. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Kelley.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kelley Elliott with Delta Airlines, and I lead our total rewards function for the organization, focusing on comp and financial wellness and other ancillary benefits. You know, when we do think about well-being, we think about financial well-being as a pillar of our overall well-being focus, whether it's physical, emotional, social, and financial. It's all very much connected. We've been on a journey to really understand, you know, where can we have the biggest impact on supporting our employees? And, you know, in an industry like the airline industry that has, you know, experienced now 20 months of massive ups and downs. And I say massive ups because at the beginning of 2020, before, you know, 2 weeks prior to really all of us understanding COVID, we are kind of at the high of highs, and now at all the massive drop down to what happened to the industry. So, you know, helping our employees recover from that, helping the company recover and helping our employees recover from that, from a financial and health perspective, is where all of our focus is going right now. So I'm excited to talk to everybody about that today and share what we're working on.
Thank you. And last but not least, Martina.
Hi, I'm Martina Poet, and I'm with Messer Construction. I've been in the benefits space for a little over 10 years now, and my role at Messer has me a lot more employee-faced, and so I spend a lot of my time working one-on-one with our employees, and I have learned a lot in regards to their financial wellness over the past 2 years. And being in construction, we didn't stop working during the pandemic. So that's a benefit to our employees. However, many of our employees' spouses experienced layoffs, or, you know, they had to, as the woman in the household, had to stay home to care for the children. So there was a great impact to our employees. And so we have spent the last 2 years really focused on how do we bring that financial well-being in to take care of our employees.
Great. Thank you all for setting that context. You know, when I look at the words financial well-being, I can't help but think that this has to go hand in hand with mental health and well-being. As you've all said, it's a critical component. Rebecca was talking about stress, and Martina, you mentioned, you know, the impact to families. Are you seeing, this is a question for all of you,
Mhm.
that there is a business case to be made for supporting employee financial health alongside mental health, because that increases well-being overall? I'm just thinking about how you would make a business case for supporting employee financial health. So Rebecca, I'm going to come to you first because you're my trend expert in this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really big right now. So 71% of mental wellness issues actually stem from financial stress.
There you go.
And financial stress is really the biggest burden people are carrying with them. And it is debilitating. It is a burden for people. People are burdened with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt across all professions. Some have graduated college, some haven't, and they're still straddled with that. People are stressed about, even their employee stock purchase plan and their equity vesting and their tax bracket going into a new range for the first time and not understanding the tax liability of that. And so across the board, we are seeing financial stress. And in all places, we're seeing that, change how people make decisions because they're in a stressful mindset. And so there definitely is a business case there that they go hand in hand.
Okay. Stephanie, are you seeing that you're having to make a business case to support employee financial health? And if so, what is that?
Oh, ours was very compelling from a financial health perspective, because we had very much a cookie cutter solution previously, and it just was not meeting our needs. So we had to make a decision to break apart what we had as our standard EAP offering that had wellness attached. It's all related, as you said, but we wanted to be able to make a real push to ensure that our team members, as we call them at Aaron's, were also focusing on the big picture when it came to their financial health. So we went out in 2019 before we realized what was going to be happening over the next couple of years. We decided we need to do something and make a change, a really, really good change for the better. And we did that. We went out, we decided that we were going to make it a team effort. And we engaged folks from many different teams as part of this process. We are a LearnLux customer, as you may already know. And Rebecca had to put up with our team bringing in multiple people, asking for access for folks that are, just folks who we felt might be good in the vetting of a system such as this. So it was a very hands-on, very, very hands-on approach to getting better in this space. And at the end of the day, we chose LearnLux. It's been very, very good. We chose them mainly because of the ability to have access to a certified financial planner, one that you could build a relationship with, and one that you would always, they would get to know you, you'd get to know them. They build that relationship around things that are very, very confidential, and they could make our team members help them to get to where they wanted to be. So that was a big driver for us. In addition, we wanted to be able to customize our solution, and that was really easy to do with the customization of not just the portal, but the videos and how we rolled it out. And we're special, we're retail. And when I say special, is we're trying to do well operationally without, hindering our team members' ability to come in every day and feel good about themselves and to feel good about, what's happening with them. So it's been, I could go on and on. It's been very, very, very good for us. And hands down, we feel like we made a really, really great decision, and it's helped us. But the first thing that happened was just recognizing that the financial well-being did not need to be attached to the, our other wellness or well-being programs. We could break it apart and get something that really, really, really did offer what we needed.
Well, and there's nothing like getting buy-in from team members by engaging them, in terms of making a business case, because you know that everybody's going to use it when they're all hands in. Martina, what did it look like at Messer?
So kind of a similar story to Stephanie's. At the end of 2019, we had cut ties with our previous financial wellness platform. We had extraordinarily low engagement in terms of 10 people utilized it in the year 2019 in a company of, at that time, 1,400 employees. Wow. So we spent the beginning of 2020 on the adventure of investigating financial wellness platforms. And ultimately, we ourselves as well landed on LearnLux. And we landed on LearnLux because they were able to accomplish helping us meet our employees where they're at. So we have a high level of entry-level co-ops. So their concerns are going to be student loans. We have half of our population is craft employees who are spanning the range of early 20s to nearing retirement. We have executives, we have mid-careers, we have a whole host of different generations of employees in our company, not to mention we're spanning multiple regions. So we're in 5 different states. And so everybody's needs are so different. And LearnLux was able to provide us with that platform that's going to hit all of those points that matter to all of those individuals. And we have spent time tying that financial wellness in with, contacts for EAP and things like that, because people are stressed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Kelley, slightly different question for you, because you mentioned about the roller coaster ride that Delta's been on, and in fact, all of hospitality and travel. How has the organization balanced maintaining business objectives with supporting employees' engagement and job security? So it's a key component of financial wellness. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I think in the height of 2020, our focus was all around shoring up, the business and really making sure we kind of got through the month or the day, right? And part of that was becoming a smaller workforce. What we were able to do was make that happen on a purely voluntary basis. So we had many of our Delta people take voluntary leaves of absence. We had many who decided to voluntarily retire or to leave the organization. And as a part of that, we actually partnered really, really closely with Fidelity and did one-on-one coaching sessions. This was all about supporting the individual with this massive life decision. Are they prepared, both financially and emotionally, to retire? This is not the way, when you think about retirement, a lot of us think about financial, right? But the emotional connection there is huge. This is a big part of work, is a big part of somebody's life, and being ready to make that next step to retirement. You have to consider both the financial and the emotional side of that. And so we partnered closely with Fidelity to do these coaching sessions, kind of decision sessions, to help support them. And we had a huge amount of engagement as we went through that. And that kind of, we took off from there. Once we were done with those supporting people through those decisions, we said, these coaching sessions don't need to stop with this decision they're making. We need this to continue as we go. So a big piece of our investment just kind of came from all the work that we did in 2020, and how do we carry forward so that people are continually making the decisions they need, whether it's, an emergency savings fund or 401k actions, or you name it, a number of other things that they might be doing to really focus on their credit score and managing their debt and budgeting. So it was a great way to get started. And the feedback that we received and the engagement that we got was enough to make that business case. We didn't really have to do a whole lot more. We had tons of feedback from that experience that we were able to use and leverage. So what we're putting in place today is really a framework around the needs of our organization. We are focused on 3 key areas of financial literacy, financial stability, and financial freedom. And literacy is just me and you being able to have the conversation about what is a credit score, what is debt management. It's starts from the very basics. And then stability to us is about living wages and family sustainable wages, and really building up emergency funds and taking care of student loans. And then financial freedom is what we want people to be working towards. And we want to provide jobs and support that get them there, which means if you have a 30-year career that you can be financially free and retire and have that time for yourself. So we're building out the strategy of what would it take to move somebody through all those phases. And some of that is coaching and support and education. Some of it might look like new programs. And we don't know what those will look like yet, but they might center around emergency savings or student loans or additional kind of incentives around retirement savings and that sort of thing. So we have a long way to go, but we're really excited about kind of our initial assessment that is comprised of support from input from employees, survey data, along with a lot of industry data and just best practices as well.
This is bringing up 2 additional questions, so I'm glad you're providing this context. One is around this notion of financial literacy. And Rebecca, this question is for you. How much, from your perspective, is employee stress due to the fact that maybe they don't know how to speak this language? And I mean, you opened by saying it really was the purview of the 1% to have access to an advisor and so forth. Is it possible that some of the stress comes because they just don't really know what a credit score is?
Yeah, I think the term financial literacy gets a lot of different meanings and is a little confusing, but the way I would think about it is that at LearnLux, we pride ourselves on being the most accessible and equitable financial well-being program, and that means meeting people where they are. For a lot of people, they didn't grow up learning the language of finance, and so it's very intimidating for people. And we really focus on incredibly diverse workforces. There's incredible income diversity, and it doesn't even matter how much money you make. If you didn't grow up talking about money or have a family that put money into an account for you and said, here's how investing works, it might be incredibly intimidating and hard to even start a conversation. So when I think about financial literacy, it's just leveling the playing field and making sure that people have a way to talk about money and feel confident with the words and the language. A lot of people come to us from all different backgrounds and all jobs, and they're not even sure the first question to ask because it's just too scary. And it's been such a personal scenario for so long. So I think that's how we think about literacy, just making sure people understand the language to get started.
I think that it's interesting that you all talked about how you made these decisions and what benefits and that you were going to offer your employees with regards to this particular aspect of well-being. And I'm curious to know where leadership in your organization stood on this. Was it sort of a top-down discussion? I heard mention of, the employee surveys bubbling up, what was needed. So I just want to hear how it works as a framework within your organizations, those decisions. Martina?
I think for us, our executives were absolutely on board, and I'm a member of our wellness committee. So this is a topic that we discuss regularly when it comes to health and like physical health, mental health, financial health. So they have been on board. Honestly, for a construction company, we've been on board with financial wellness for an extremely long time. Our previous vendor that we had for 10 plus years. So we've been in the boat of financial wellness for a long time. I think we're just now kind of understanding everybody's needs. And that's just coming from, feedback from employees out in the field, even that are close to retirement. And like Rebecca was saying, I mean, they don't know the first thing to even ask,
Mhm.
what am I supposed to do? So I think that's helped with the buy-in at the top.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm also thinking about, obviously, executives are doing better financially than some, let's say, hourly workers are. I'm sure there's a big wage gap there, as it is natural to be. So how is that playing out? Stephanie, can you talk a little bit about leadership buy-in on this?
Yes, so this, the same pretty much that Martina was expressing, it was something that we felt was needed at all levels, and we got feedback from all levels. And we always have an ongoing evaluation, especially as me being a part of that total rewards team. We're always evaluating. One of the things we look at is utilization of the programs that we have in place. And it was clear that the current program had very low utilization. And it's something that we offer, of course, most companies offer it at no cost to the employee, and, as we do. And we wanted to make sure, of course, we don't want to stop offering it, but we want people to use it because we understood the benefits of it, and we wanted to get others on board with that. So we had no difficulty with that. We started thinking, okay, how can we? And we had a few people who, like I said, joined that selection team, for that purpose, who could then become cheerleaders later on, for what we were intending to do. So. Okay. And we thought at the end of the day, yes, our top executives are all going to appreciate it. But at the end of the day, we wanted our team members to have a better understanding of all things that related to them financially. And we had folks who were buying, signing up for health insurance or too much insurance. So because they were afraid of a deductible or, out-of-pocket maximums. And I can say that, so things like that make a person feel like, hey, I'm not making enough money, when really, if you make just a slightly different election, you'll have more money in your pocket at the end of the day. So those are some of the things that we get help with now. Our team members get that type of assistance. The LearnLux knows all of our health plans. During open enrollment, they were told that they can reach out if you're making decisions, and you can talk through it with them, and they will help you with your decision making. And that worked out well. So it's, it all comes together in the end, though.
Kelley, leadership versus bubbling up.
All that we're doing is really driven from the top of the house right now when it comes to all aspects of well-being, whether it's this financial well-being space or emotional or physical. It is a key business initiative for us. Just as supporting our people is a key business initiative, this is a really, really big piece of it. And so we are, coming up with the solutions, but I'd say it's definitely a directive of go figure out how we can really support all Delta people. And I will say the focus is probably a little bit more on our frontline employees of really, particularly new. We've hired a lot here in this year now that we are recovering, and want to really support newer or employees coming into the organization as well, particularly at those entry wage rates, and make sure that we can do all we can to kind of help set them up for the right path. And so thinking about those audiences differently has been really important for us as well. And the leadership focus on where we need to be really driving engagement has been pretty clear too, that we need to make sure it is a very accessible, equitable program. And so we aren't, you might not hear us talk as much about maybe wealth planning or, kind of longer term planning right now. We are focused more on kind of that kind of almost like crisis management planning right now, just getting people on the right foot, taking care of some of those major hurdles that might be in their way right now to really just have that path be set the right way. So thinking about, week to week pay and cost management, budgeting, really thinking about the impact of a credit score, planning to, have a mortgage. So some of it's really, really focused on the basics.
I'm glad that you mentioned entry-level wages, because we've seen wild fluctuations in what frontline workers can and do make right now, because people are so desperate to get people in the door. But there is a question of equity. And so, Rebecca, what responsibility do you think employers have to eliminate some of those systemic barriers to financial inequality?
Yeah, as I was saying before, a lot of people don't have someone they can go to ask financial questions.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't trust the financial system because it is so opaque and confusing, and you're not sure if someone's just pushing a product to you or trying to get your assets into, an account they have. And so the industry has been not amazing for many, many people.
Mhm.
And so really what we've seen is companies identifying that they want an independent, unbiased solution that they can give to all employees. So I'd say the two themes there are, with benefits equity, financial well-being is something that you can give to every single employee, whether they are an executive with executive benefits or if they are an hourly worker trying to make ends meet. And I will say there are a lot of myths. Just because you don't make a lot of money, it doesn't mean you have bad financial behaviors. We see
Mhm.
everything across the board. And you can make a lot of money and still have really bad financial behaviors and not be on the right track. But I think being able to offer something to every employee to relieve their stress, to help them understand their healthcare. Stephanie brought up healthcare. The number one reason for personal bankruptcy in America is picking the wrong healthcare plan during open enrollment and saying, oh, I'm going to pick a high deductible plan, takes the least amount of money out of my paycheck. But actually, you don't have $6,000 to pay out before insurance kicks in. And then you get into this cycle of medical debt. And so
Mhm.
being able to help people holistically with their financial plan, all financial decisions, but also healthcare decisions, total rewards decisions, really impacts equity and allows people to optimize what they're getting access to already, know what they have access to, and build on top of that. And the second piece is really that independent, unbiased solution. And that's kind of the next wave of financial well-being companies that you're seeing are, not affiliated with a bank. They're not pushing products.
Mhm.
We at LearnLux only employ certified financial planners because they have an ethical obligation to be a fiduciary and act in your best interest.
Mhm.
And that is quite new in the space, that you can take a meeting and know that I am not going to be sold anything. I
Mhm.
just want to get validation on what my plan is or a question
Mhm.
I have. And so those are two big things that are really changing the industry and providing access and equity.
So if I'm hearing you, then you're saying that the employer does have some measure of responsibility to ensure that its workforce is achieving some equity in their financial well-being. Yes?
Yeah, we've talked about how this is the biggest stress people carry with them. And so many of our financial decisions are tied to our employer. Our
Mhm.
paycheck, retirement, healthcare,
Mhm.
insurance, equity is all tied to our employer. And so if we can understand that, it actually benefits the employer as well, especially in a time like this where everyone is trying to hire and it's a really hot talent market. Having employees understand their benefits is incredibly beneficial for the company, because people won't leave for a dollar raise. They'll stay and say, oh, I'm getting all these other benefits that have economic value and I understand them. And it makes sense that I'm making this much money.
Mhm.
And so I've seen it help both the employer and employee and create systematic change across companies, because a lot of financial wellness products used to only be accessible if you made a certain amount of money. It was an executive benefit. And that has changed in the last few years. Now,
Mhm.
companies are looking for something that can help every single person and that meets them where they are. It doesn't talk to them like they're an executive if they're not, because that's not the scenario they're dealing with. So that's kind of that's what breaks the systematic inequality.
Well, I couldn't help but think, as I was asking the question about leadership dictating whether these programs are implemented versus, what the employees were bubbling up to say that they needed. Because in days of yore, the executives would just say, well, you're getting a paycheck. What you do with it is your business. And it was a very hands-off process there. And now I'm getting the sense that leaders are invested in ensuring that their workforce is treated equitably. Martina, did you want to add something there?
Yeah, so I was going to say this year, our executives were tasked with meeting with every individual employee and asking them 2 questions. And one of those questions was, what can we do better? And there was a response to that. And the response was around compensation. And they took that and they decided to take a deep dive into compensation in our company and see, do we have gaps? Are there inequities across the company that we need to be addressing? And they did find that there were some, and they did make the decision to address those. So that's something in the process that they're doing right now.
Okay. Have you, and this is for Martina, Stephanie, and Kelley, has your organization addressed the wealth gap or done any internal pay audits and benefit audits to make sure that they're equitable? Stephanie?
We have, it's something we do ongoing. We have a very engaged, as part of the total rewards team, we're always evaluating that. And it's something that is really super important. You know, folks should feel comfortable about, or at least, you know, somewhat comfortable with the pay that they're getting when they come in the door. And we can't afford to have people feeling as if they are not being treated fairly when it comes to pay. So it's something that we always evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, you know, many of the policies around that are known. You know, there are no secret, you know, this is how we do this group, but that group that gets something else. So, and it's important to have that transparency because, you know, that keeps the noise level down. So it's not something that, of course, everyone would like to be paid more. We're always going to have that, but I have not seen where we've had like the loud noises around inequality. We tend to be very, very transparent with everything that we do.
Yeah, that's been a theme that I keep hearing over this year is about transparency, and particularly with regards to pay. Kelley, did you want to add?
Sure. I mean, I think maybe similar to Stephanie's, you know, if we look at 90% of our workforce, we have the pay is defined based on the job and specifically set on kind of a pay scale that is disclosed to all of our employees. So it's essentially public information, because if you tell 80,000 people, it is public. And so that we feel really good about, and we take very, very close look at how we compare to the industry and how we compare to general industry as well. We typically focus more on the airline industry, but right now with this war for talent, I mean, we really had to focus much broader. And then for the rest of, you know, our professional work groups, that is something that we look at on a regular basis. It's something that we're going through right now. And we, you know, we are very compelled wherever we find, whether it's something related to benefits or pay, that we make adjustments. We actually had a work group going into 2020 called Ready Reserves, and they were a group that was sort of part-time, and we did not offer benefits to this group, and we have since brought them into the fold. And so that was a really big action that we took, because we felt like that just wasn't something that was, you know, the right treatment from a benefit equity perspective. So those are the kinds of things, as they get highlighted, we really kind of bring them up for recommendation and make adjustments as we need to. But that change was doing that even in 2021, despite what's going on with the organization. Really proud to have been able to make that move.
Martina, you wanted to add?
I think very similar. We've done much of the same around compensation and benefits. And I think our focus, now that we have, you know, the compensation piece where we have found that we have some gaps and we're addressing those, we're still focused on that, kind of bringing the benefits together to be more in line across our entire population.
With regard to transparency, certainly people knowing what they're supposed to be making and what others at their level make is really helpful. But I'm also thinking about communicating these particular financial services offerings. How do you tell people? And because, I mean, I remember, again, 500 years ago, you were just given like a tome of, here's your benefits, go take this away and read it. Kelly's shaking her head. And I know that our dear HR leaders are doing their very best to be more engaging with communicating what benefits are outside of the open enrollment period. But what are some best practices to get people to understand, particularly with regards to financial well-being benefits, to get people engaged? Stephanie?
Yeah, so I will address it as to what we do overall that I feel are our best practices. But we've created a single go-to place for all of our benefit offerings with everything you need to know about each one, with links to every single partner that we have. So that if they're in there and they're tooling around, they want to know more about anything, they can just click on a link and go to that link to get more information. We also try to use that site to make it easy for people to go in and enroll. So once you're in there, you tool around, you see what you want to see. And if you're a new hire, you can click on a new hire tab and it tells you everything about being a new hire, what's offered to you, what you can do. And then you can click a big red button that says enroll now.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
So we've done that. And then to keep getting the word out year round, we have something called My Errands Mondays. We often work together with other teams and with LearnLux as well to post something that we feel that people need to know about, or if we're not seeing high utilization of something, we post it on a My Errands Monday, and it appears on a site that everyone in the company has to go through when they come into work. So it's another way of getting it in front of them. And then we also have something called employee business resource groups. So they're groups who are gathered together for purposes of things that they have in common. But we've been known to drop something into each of those groups that they can cover the next time they get together. So we have to do this because we are retail and not everybody in our company has access to email as part of their job. So we have all kinds of ways that we utilize to get the word out, and it seems to be working pretty good. Yeah.
Audience, are you taking notes? Because they're often asking about very specific practices. Kelly, did you want to add something there?
Sure. I mean, I think this is probably one of the hardest parts of my job and our team's job in general, whether it's financial or emotional or other aspects of well-being or other programs that we have. If people don't understand them, right, they don't value them. And so it's incumbent upon us to really not just communicate it, but also kind of educate and engage around these programs. We found that, one of the best ways to do that is, as hard as it may be, is in initial in-person kind of engagements, really with our team or with the coaches that we have. That's the best way to build the trust. Get to know somebody, get to know, they're just another person, they're down to earth. They're going to, either our team or the coaches are there to help. And once you have that initial in-person engagement, I think it's fine to go virtual, and it's easier for people kind of from that point forward, but there's got to be that human connection so people can feel, they can build that trust and really begin to make an impact. So that's one thing we've done. The other thing that we really, we do often are just kind of all employee town halls. And we've had the opportunity twice now to have financial wellness be a focus of those town halls. So those get a lot of attention, a lot of airtime. We bring in experts to talk about this and well-known people to really help us kind of just drum up excitement and demand and have people not only understand what the program is, but really feel it, right? We often talk about speaking to their hearts first and not their mind, their mind second, right? So if we can tell some stories of some employees who've really, gone through these programs or used some of these benefits, I think that's what speaks to people more. And those employees telling their story one-on-one, peer-to-peer is
Sure.
truly what makes the biggest impact in our organization.
Yeah, personal stories, always very powerful. Martina, do you want to add?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Kelley was saying, and something we try to do is get that first human to human connection going, so that they do know, oh, I can call human resources and it is another employee, another person on the other end that can help me. In terms of communication, it's like Stephanie said, not everybody has an email. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in our company is how do we reach those employees? And, when I first got here, it was everything we did was via the post office. I was like, oh, we got to find some better ways, because that information isn't, especially now, it doesn't make it there very quick anymore. And so, we're trying to come up with all kinds of different ideas and ways to reach those individuals. And I think something that we're looking at is kind of creating videos that we can put out on our intranet that are more of a Q&A session where the questions are coming actually from the employees. Mm-hmm. And so that might get them a little more engaged, hey, somebody else has the same question that I have that maybe they were too scared to ask.
Right. There's always that, everything you ever wanted to know, but we're afraid to ask. We're going to flip over to take care of some of these audience questions that are coming in. We have a lot of them. So we have about 15 minutes to tackle some of those. Rebecca, I think this one's got your name on it. What are some of the biggest new financial stressors coming up right now?
Ooh, that's a great question. So student loans have been on pause because of COVID for over a year now, and coming up in January, they are going to be unpaused. So we have a lot of people coming to us right now saying, I was able to pay off my credit card debt while my student loans are on pause, but now I'm not sure how to distribute my paycheck because I'm going to have to be contributing money to my student loans again. So that's one big thing that is coming up a lot. There are a lot of companies going public right now, so people have a lot of questions on their equity and what does that mean for taxes and what does that mean for the goals they want to accomplish and the family they want to help. So those are two big things that are coming up a lot right now. And I would say, always people care about retirement and make sure they're on track for retirement. Always people want to be supporting their kids and their families, and at the same time being, contributing to their own goals as well. So a lot of people have competing goals right now that they want to understand the order of how they should accomplish them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I shudder to think of the number of people still going check to check currently, because I think that is still a reality for many people, so-called middle class people. Here's another question. Judging by your industries, you're all probably hiring right now. Are financial wellness benefits something you tout in recruiting, along with more specific programs like student loan relief? So Martina, Kelley, and Stephanie, chime in on this one. Kelley, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I don't think of necessarily the student loan programs as separate from financial wellness. I would sort of think about the education components of financial wellness along with other program components, which may be the 401k plan or other aspects of student loan support or emergency savings. So yes, I think that we do include that in kind of here's what the employee value proposition is as you join the organization. Now, could we do a better job? Absolutely. There's so much that's part of that value prop that we need to probably all as an industry and a function at all of our organizations, make sure we're articulated in a way so that we can differentiate our offering from the organization down the road.
Martina? Sorry, Stephanie. She pressed her button first.
Sorry.
No, I feel like we're in a game show.
I totally agree with what Kelley said. Yes, it's part of, we definitely want to tout, you know, what we have to offer, and that is a big part of it. And we put it in a way that helps them to look at, you know, financial well-being in possibly a way they have not thought of it before. It's, you know, it's not just for people who are wealthy. It's, you know, it's for anyone who's planning, who wants to do things a different way with their financials. You know, money matters is a big deal for regardless of who you are. So that's how we sell it on our site. Okay. And it's good. People are interested, which is good.
So Martina, as a talent acquisition strategy, are you using it?
Yeah, we definitely are using it. And I mean, I think with everybody right now, aren't we constantly reevaluating what our strategy is? Because I'm sure we all are in need of many employees. So we definitely use it kind of in partnership with our retirement plans. We're an employee-owned company, so we have various retirement plans that we definitely put front and center when we're recruiting, and we're bringing in that financial piece as well.
Here's another one that may have Rebecca's name on it. What are your thoughts about the future of financial wellness and benefits with the onset of cryptocurrency and other kinds of digital commerce currencies arising that employees may be exploring?
That is another great question. That's another great question. Our certified financial planners actually are in the process of taking a blockchain and cryptocurrency course, because when you're a CFP, you are required to do ongoing education. So we are constantly sending our CFPs to classes that they're interested in so that people can be specialized in anything. And crypto and blockchain are coming up more and more with employees. So we want to make sure they are prepped and can holistically talk about that with their plan. So they are in CFP credit classes right now. It's a great question.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. With many employees in lower paying roles barely making ends meet, how do you help them start saving for the future and other longer term thinking? This has got all of your names on it. So anybody want to chime in first? Raise your hand. Press your button. Go ahead, Martina.
So for us, as I was saying, our retirement plans are kind of that first and foremost thing that we promote here at our company. And I think one of the beauties of that is our employees don't have to do anything. It's an automatic benefit. It's going to happen for you, whether you want to participate or not, although I would think you would want to participate. And so I am happy that that's something we're helping to kind of get started for employees, especially our craft workers who really are paycheck to paycheck, and they're just thinking about what's in front of them right this moment. And, you know, I want them to be considering what's going to happen when they're 60 and 65 and what that's going to look like for them.
Mm-hmm. Rebecca?
Yeah, I see every type of financial situation. And a lot of people email me when they've had really life-changing scenarios because they want to, you know, tell their story and make sure it's shared with others at their company and more. And, you know, when you think about building emergency savings, that is a huge goal for people right now. Someone asked about biggest stressors. That's a big goal right now because COVID did hit a lot of families and it erased a lot of their emergency savings. You know, people were laid off or furloughed and they had to dip into their emergency savings for maybe the first time. And so a lot of families are rebuilding savings right now, also trying to pay off debt, also trying to contribute to retirement. So I think it's a great question. And that's really why I think when you're looking at financial well-being, you want to make sure you're looking at a holistic solution that can cover everything, because you don't want someone to get stuck in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. You don't want someone to be able to pay off one bill, but then, you know, something happens, they can't pay for childcare, they can't pay to fix their car, and they're in debt again. You really want to follow this order to make a plan where you have savings, you're paying off debt, and you're contributing to other goals. And by working with a professional or even with a digital platform, you know, you can do that and you can make sure that you're on the right track. So that is the exact type of questions that people come to us with, come to anyone with, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I would just add that, I think that's really how we see things, our team members benefiting, because they don't believe or they don't know how to make that first step, or what they need to do in order to change their current financial situation. But once they get together with someone who's able to talk them through it, offer suggestions to them, they realize that it is something that's doable. It might not be easy, but it's doable. And that's what's important, just helping folks to get started and thinking in, the right way.
Mm-hmm. Kelley?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to understand where they're coming from, right? When you think about what those goals should be. And obviously some goals may feel unattainable, and certain organizations may feel unattainable. And we've acknowledged the fact that, so we have two kind of coaching programs for our organization. And we know that one is more directed to somebody who is living paycheck to paycheck and it is struggling and needs kind of those more basic level of support. And we are partnering with Operation Hope, their Hope Inside the Workplace model on that. Those are kind of coaching really, and they don't touch as much on the long-term planning or on 401k. They can, but they focus more on the day-to-day getting out of that cycle. And then obviously partner with Fidelity on the other side, where it's more longer-term planning, college savings planning, 401k focus. And the idea is that they are cross-referencing, because organizations come with kind of a set of expectations, and we really didn't want anything to feel unattainable to anybody, and wanted that to feel like at the right level for those who needed the most help. So that's been a pretty good approach, I think, and really making sure we think about segmenting our population and really thinking about what the needs that they have.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking about the lower wage workers, Alan wants to know, do any of you provide resources that can offset the need to seek payday loans or any other high rate loan options when lower earning employees have emergency situations? Again, anyone want to raise your hand? Go ahead, Kelley.
We don't currently do any sort of early access to earned wages or more frequent paychecks, but it is quite the topic of discussion. And we're seeing from a lot of our organizations that we're competing for talent, it is something that they are talking about as they're recruiting as well. So definitely something on the radar. I don't know if that's what we'll end up doing, but having lots of discussions on that and really trying to understand how it will impact our talent strategy. There's this debate of, is it a good thing or not, right? And I think trying to get through that debate has been interesting.
Yeah. Stephanie?
So I agree, because we changed our payroll system and we now offer it. And yes, I do shudder a little bit if I'm looking up someone to assist them with something and I see all these checks, prior to pay date. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'll be honest about that. But Rebecca, that may be something that we want to add to our counseling sessions. That's all I'll say.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I would say all the employers I talk to are kind of skeptical, and I have seen negative cycles that occur when, there's different ways to do this. So I don't want to speak for every program, but it's unfortunate when someone gets into a situation where they can't get out of the cycle and they keep taking money, and it's usually not a great scenario. And really what our planners try to do is get you out of that paycheck to paycheck life, make sure that you set aside money for emergency savings. That means that you might not be able to pay off your debt this month. You might have to have emergency savings, because that eventually will get you out of the cycle of debt.
Right.
So there's just an order of operations for how to make decisions. And we really think about it more from a long-term perspective and what's not going to ruin your credit and what's going to, get you on the right path long-term. But it is a really interesting question, and I'm sure something that will come up more and more with employers, especially with the war for talent.
Well, that's our time. So first, I want to thank you all for joining me. Rebecca, Stephanie, Kelley, and Martina, you've provided some excellent insights. For those audience members who did not get their questions answered with specific regard to LearnLux, I would encourage you to please reach out to Rebecca either through LearnLux website or through LinkedIn. Likewise, if you have questions for any of the other panelists, connect with us on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to help you in whatever way we can. So over to Steve.
Thank you, Lydia. And thanks to all of our speakers. It was a thoughtful conversation with lots of specific tips for the audience on an issue that's really gained prominence lately. Thank you again to our sponsor, LearnLux, and to all of you in the audience who participated today and asked lots of good questions. If you'd like to join us for more virtual events, you can head to our website, fromday1.co, and check out more of our upcoming webinars and conferences. As a reminder, one of our monthly virtual conferences is coming up next week, Wednesday, December 15th, and it's titled The Future of Work in an Era of Rapid Change. It's going to be really valuable for people who are anticipating the constant change of work. It's revolutionary and ongoing. So thank you all again. Thanks, everyone. Stay well.